So, when all of the bands came out, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Venusaur, Cinderace, Dragapult, and all these guys, one of the first things that I expected was Leafeon to climb up the ladder very quickly, especially with Venusaur and Rillaboom coming out, because Leafeon is really one of the better grass types in the game, at least in my opinion. If you disagree, let me know in the comments below. In my experience, I've had success running Leafeon teams before. I've run it with a Life Orb. I've run it with a Weakness Policy. I've run it Assault Vest. It's really one of my favorite Pokemon. It can do a lot of things. I've run it with X-Scissor before as well. I've run it with Protect. It has a limited move pool, but it's still very strong. 110 attack, 130 defense, and 95 speed. Obviously, with Chlorophyll and the Sun, it's very fast. If you do no speed investment, you'll be at 115 speed, and then 230 if you're in the Sun. So it's still a pretty good Pokemon, right? I've run it also with Riolu coaching before. I've run it with Torkoal. I've run all sorts of very weird sets in the past. Because I think Leafeon is a really good Pokemon that I feel deserves some respect that I don't believe it has gotten. So I was hoping that it was going to increase in usage. And looking into Pikalytics a couple of days ago, it's 125 on Wi-Fi. And it's less than 1% or maybe around 1% in Showdown at this point. And I thought that was very surprising, and I want to change that because I think it's a Pokemon that has a lot to offer. You just need to know how to use it. So if you look at this team in first instance, you think it's a Sun team with Ninetales and Leafeon, and you wouldn't be wrong, except Sun is the alternative mode of this team. I've done extensive coverage of Copycat Trick Room. This is a strategy that was originally developed with Lipard. Not by me, so don't be quoting me saying that I'm taking the credit for that strategy. I will gladly take credit for my variant, which is Riolu Copycat Max Trick Room from Hatterene. If you don't know what it is, I have two different videos that explain that strategy. One that is purely on explaining how the strategy works, and another one that was basically just a match that I ran, that I just ran it. So I'll post the links here in the different videos so that you guys can watch it. The long story short is, first turn you Copycat Max Trick Room, and since Riolu can't Max Guard, it's going to Trick Room. Second turn, you are going to Bullet Punch if the person wasn't smart enough to double on Riolu. You are going to Bullet Punch on Hatterene, and now Hatterene is going to be at +2 special attack, which is going to be about 406, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty ridiculous stat. You can G-Max Smite, which is obviously going to cause confusion. Cannot tell you how many matches I've won just by the other opponent wasn't able to hit due to confusion, although it's only a 33% probability. It's still pretty decent side effect. You have the ability to Mystical Fire and set Sun if you want to have Leafeon in the back. Have it as your last Pokemon. You can Max Flare and set up the Sun for him in the back. You can also Expanding Force, Max Mindstorm, and set yourself up for Expanding Force when you are out of the Dynamax. That would be mode number 1, and then obviously with Rhyperior after Hatterene. I got Rock Slide, Hammer Arm, and High Horsepower. You would probably ask or question why am I not running something like maybe Thunder Punch to be able to kill Primarina, which is obviously one of the top 5 in the format. Depending on what you're looking at, it might be top 1. Part of the or something like something like a Corviknight that still has a decent usage. The straight up answer is Porygon Z. There's a couple of ways to kill it. It depends on what the lead is. The hardest lead for this team by far, not specifically to Porygon Z, by far the most difficult lead, is a Clefairy Porygon Z lead. what I recommend in that lead is actually Togetic Follow Me, because you're not going to be able to copycat because your opponent might follow me. Your opponent might also Helping Hand, and that's also kind of a problem, so you need to play it by ear, or kind of think through what your opponent's going to do. So if you go for Follow Me, you should pretty much guarantee a Trick Room. If your opponent doesn't go for Helping Hand, your Togetic should survive with at least 25% health. So in the next turn, you have the ability to either Helping Hand and kill that Clefairy. And then in the next turn, you can bring in Rhyperior, and with Hammer Arm or something else, you should easily be able to kill that Porygon Z. If you have an Amoonguss lead, it's actually different, and we'll talk about that where we go through the Leafeon and Ninetales lead. But at the end of the day, that is kind of the optimal set. Like if you don't have Hammer Arm on that Rhyperior, it becomes nearly impossible to be able to kill that Porygon C with this team. Like, there's ways that you can get around it, and you might be smarter than I am and maybe think of something clever, but in my experience actually playing with the team, that is really the easiest way to do it. On the flip side, if I've actually run Follow Me and Rhyperior as a lead, and you have the ability to also max Hammer Arm. And Max Knuckle is going to raise your attack by 1, and you already have a Life Orb. So it's effectively a weakness policy. I know it's not exactly a weakness policy, but it's almost a weakness policy at that point. So the Trick Room mode of this team is very strong. Being able to potentially set the Sun for Leafeon in the back is very strong. Being able to have Ninetales in the back, depending on the type of lead that your Pokemon has, is very strong as well. You just have to, take a look at what your opponent's bringing, and then make a decision on which of those you guys want on the back. You could also get very cheeky and try to run Riolu coaching for Rhyperior if you're expecting Togetic to die very quickly, and you know that your opponent is just not going to be able to KO Rhyperior. Maybe you want to bring Riolu as a, in the back, and just start going for coaching, and then just go for Rock Slide, and you should be able to obliterate everything at that point. It's a riskier lead, and you would need to be very clever on when you use that, but it's definitely possible to do that. So then let's get into the Sun mode. I tried not using Togetic and going for Charizard, Heliolisk. I've tried anything that you could possibly imagine. I tried Ninetales as more of a supportive Pokemon. Don't ask me why Ninetales doesn't learn Snarl. I think it's one of the dumbest things in Pokemon. Ninetales should learn Snarl. Don't get me started. I can complain about that all day. It's a freaking dog that doesn't learn. It's not a dog, it's a fox, but doesn't learn Snarl. So let's leave it at that. My original intent was Heatwave, Snarl, Protect, and Will-O-Wisp, kind of like an Arcanine lead, but instead of Intimidate, it was red, but doesn't learn Snarl. So I sat there and thought about Safeguard. I thought about really anything that you can possibly imagine. Baby Doll Eyes, Howl to increase the attack of Leafeon. You can easily add Howl to Ninetales by breeding it with an Arcanine. And Ninetales are typically female, so it's pretty easy to just breed it if you ever want to run a Howl Ninetales set. I can tell you that I didn't necessarily have much success with it. Maybe you can make a team that does that and share the Pokepace or a rental code, and I'll definitely check it out if you guys want me to. The set that I got the most bang for my buck on was a all-out attack Ninetales. I actually tried a Nasty Plot set, and I'm going to share a video of this team where I played with this team, and I have it with Nasty Plot. In that video, it's also non-shiny. I was actually able to breed a shiny. Before I got to this video, I breed all of my Pokemon. I don't gen it for anything that isn't a draft league. So I have this bot that I am not going to say the name of because I am not being sponsored by them. So there's a bot that you can buy, and you literally plug it into your Switch, and it will automatically hatch eggs for you from the daycare. If you guys want to look it up, I'm not going to give the name because, again, I'm not sponsored. I have like 2 viewers, so if they ever want to sponsor me, I will gladly make all the videos of all the things that you can do in the different games that they do. It's actually a very neat tool, but again, they're not sponsoring me, so we'll stop talking about it. So that Ninetales is actually very strong. If you have an Amoonguss Porygon Z lead, if it Dynamaxes, you can go for Solar Blade and Heatwave in the Sun. You should KO with that Charcoal. You should be able to KO the Porygon Z. With Dark Pulse, you should be able to hit, Dusclops. You should be able. I mean, it's not gonna kill Dusclops by any means. Don't. Let's not kid ourselves. It's bulky as hell, right? But maybe you have the ability to, if you are thinking that, if your opponent has a Dusclops, what the decision that I think you need to make is on whether you want to copycat their Trick Room or whether you want to just go for Trick Room yourself as well and bring in a Trick Room friendly team. But having that Dark Pulse does give you the ability to hit that. You can also hit Chandler and a couple of other things with that. So it's a neat little thing. The other thing that we need to talk about is that Amoonguss Porygon Z lead. You can lead Ninetales Leafeon and go for Solar Blade, and then Heatwave, which would hit both. So Amoonguss might Rage Powder, but Leafeon's immune to it. That should kill. There's, I think, depending on a couple of things, that there might be a low probability of not KO. And then if you don't, I mean, one of your Pokemon's gonna go down for sure. But you should be able to kill it by doing that. What I have actually found is that if you lead with that, sometimes either PC doesn't Dynamax or they swap him out. So that's just something to think about. Another thing, if you look at this team, and you look at the team builder and you look at the type matchups, so I'm actually going to show you. It's a team that doesn't necessarily look like it should work. You have a 3-time weakness to ice. There isn't a whole lot of ice Pokemon out there, but you can still beat it because if you play I guess what's the name of that ability? A Slush Rush, or if you play against Snow Warning, whatever that ability is, which is not necessarily a great ability anyways. You can Rock Slide, you can Hammer Arm. So as long as you're in Trick Room, you can do that. You also have Ninetales in the Sun to revert that. And you also have Mystical Fire from Hatterene, so that's really not that big of a deal. Another thing is the Steel weakness. One of the Pokemon that is weak to Steel is Togetic. So depending on how you play that may or may not be an issue. The thing is that you have, again, Ninetales in the Sun that can hit that. And then you have the 3-time weakness to Poison. Poison, like Ice, is not very common. You do have some ice types, or not ice types, Poison. So you can have Sludge Bomb from Amoonguss. You could potentially have Toxtricity and some others, but it's something that's not necessarily that concerning. And at the same time, Poison is weak against Psychic. So again, if you're in Trick Room and you just go for Expanding Force, you'll completely take that out, especially if you are if you've activated your weakness policy. The second thing is with Rhyperior. You should be able to hit high horsepower on it, and you should be able to kill whatever is hitting you with a poison move. And if that is a And then Mungus, you can go for Heat Wave in the Sun, and again, you can also go for Mystical Fire if you're in Trick Room. So there's and Heathering is slower than a Mungus as well. So if you are in Trick Room, you'll be able to hit it with a Mystical Fire. Then outside of Trick Room, you should be able to hit it with Ninetales. So it's kind of a weird team. And it has a couple of different modes. And to kind of summarize them, and I guess there was one that I didn't talk about, so I'll talk about that at the end. So mode number 1, you want to go for Copycat Trick Room, Bullet Punch, hit Heathering, activate Weakness Policy. It will work as long as your opponent doesn't have Fake Out. If they do have Fake Out, that's what Protect's for. You don't typically want to protect too much with that Raiola. You want to let it die. The next mode is going to be Togetic, Follow Me, and then Trick Room. And that is kind of a secondary resort to I really want to activate Trick Room. But it does work. I've tested it multiple times. That, Rhyperior and Heathering can very quickly become immortal if you start live doing. I can't remember if I recorded this, and if I did, I'm definitely going to post it. I had this match where I got... my opponent had the audacity to go for Talonflame Charizard as a lead, and I was able to stall out their Dynamax or Gmax Charizard that was an immediate... it came out in turn 1 Dynamax. Stalled out their Dynamax. They stalled out my Trick Room, but they still couldn't kill Rhyperior because I just kept Live Do. I just kept, hitting Live Do. So I did Follow Me the first turn to go for Trick Room. Eventually, Heathering just died very quickly. I kept going for Live Do, and Togetic never died. And then I just kept going for Rock Slide, Rock Slide, Rock Slide, and my opponent just couldn't stop it. Tried going for protects in left and right, and it didn't matter because I just kept going for Life Do. So every time they hit protect, it was a turn that they weren't attacking, and I was just regenerating my health. So it's if you ask me, I think it's insane that they brought both of those Pokemon, Talonflame and Talonflame and Charizard, knowing I had a Rhyperior. They probably just assumed that I was going to lead with Leafeon, which is part of the strategy of the team, which is technically the third mode, which is Ninetales and Leafeon. The lead that I actually prefer to that one, if you want to go for Sun, is generally Raiola Leafeon, which you can go for coaching. That White Herb is going to prevent you from getting intimidated, at least one time. So be smart about how you're using that Leafeon. Coaching Leafeon can tank a max attack Arcanine, max flare outside of Sun. It will tank a Heat Wave. So if you are +2, fact, it will kill an Arcanine. That is very... I think even if it's like max defense, at +2 you should be able to just kill Max Quake Arcanine. And I mean, Primarina is the number 1 in the game right now, or the number 1 in usage in doubles. So you should be able to, coaching Leaf Blade, even outside of Dynamax, is going to absolutely kill it. And I've actually managed to kill 2 Primarinas with Heat Wave in the Sun. I was able to tank with Ninetales that has 4 HP EVs. I was able to tank a what's the name of this move? Hydro Cannon. I was in Dynamax. He was in Dynamax. We were in the Sun. I don't know if that wasn't a max special attack or if that was just a bad roll or whatever it was. I was able to tank it. And I was able to Heat Wave and I killed that Primarina with Heat Wave. There's a number of different sets that you can run with that Ninetales, kind of like I mentioned. If you want to run Safeguard, Imprison, Heat Wave, Protect, there's a lot of really cheeky things that you can do with it. But I found the most success with it. One of the videos that I'm going to post, I was running Nasty Plot. I was hoping to do Follow Me Nasty Plot, but none of the matches that I ever played in, I was able to do it. So it's a really cool team. Being able to go for coaching Max Quake, increase that special defense, and then switch in that Ninetales to just get that final kill against something like an Arcanine. It's very, very, very powerful, especially because your opponent's thinking that, oh, I'm going to kill, your Dynamax Leafeon and in the next turn, and then just crushing their dreams with a Max Quake, right? So it's a really cool team. I did my best to avoid that Togetic, although it's a Pokemon that I personally like a lot, just because I was starting to share a lot of weaknesses across the team. But quite frankly, I went 8-1 yesterday playing with this, and the one match that I lost, it was a Hail team with Glaceon and Vanillux. My Hatterene got frozen while I was in my second turn of Dynamax, and my opponent had in the back a Dracozolt, and I missed high horsepower for the win. So I should have still won that match. I should have gone 9-0. I just know this team really well because I've run that Riolu Hatterene for a while, and I'm very familiar with Leafeon and with Rhyperior, and I know what this Pokemon can do. So I think I was able to get to about 2200 in the ladder after I started playing yesterday for the beginning of the month. So I went from I started playing 2 days ago, but I quite wasn't too deep into Master Ball at that point. I think I was ranked 4,000 or 5,000 when I started playing yesterday. I was able to get to about rank 2,000 playing with this team. And again, I was playing with Nasty Plot instead of Solar Beam on that Ninetales, but I changed it for this video because I haven't tested it, and I just know that it's going to be better because I was never really able to run Nasty Plot. And the one in the video that I'm going to show you guys is not going to be shiny. The one in this code is shiny. So you guys will get that. I'm going to try to start running some other videos or recording some videos on some of the new teams that I think are going to be pretty strong in the new format. You obviously are going to have your Tapu Koko Raichu lead. Whether that is an Alolan Raichu or a regular Raichu. I think Raichu and potentially some other Lightning Rod users are going to become common, because I think Special Tapu Koko is going to be a common lead. I think you're also going to see actually Tapu Koko I think has won 2 World Championships. Wolf Glick did a really cool video about that. If I find it, I'll post it. It's like all the Pokemon that have ever won the World Championships. I'll put the link in the video below. If you know who Wolf Glick is, he's a World Champ from 2016, I think. And he's won a couple of regionals. He has a lot of really, really good content, and he usually posts things daily, so I definitely recommend you guys check that out. I actually get a lot of ideas by listening to him and listening to Aaron Sang and some of those guys that are really good at the game. So I definitely recommend you guys check those out just to get your own ideas on how to build the team. But anyhow, I'm thinking, that Tapu Koko lead. I'm thinking Rillaboom or Tapu Bulu with Kartana, Grassy Glide. That's just going to be nasty. Potentially the comfy weakness policy Dragonite lead, and just spamming max Airstream. It's also going to be, I think it's going to be a really interesting lead. Also being able to do Metagross Dusclops and then just go for Bulldoze and weakness policy, much like we used to see in the previous format, in the previous series. We used to be able to see Dusclops going for Bulldoze on Tyranitar. But now you should be able to see that on being able to see that in Metagross as well. Especially because I'm expecting that Tapus to be pretty important in the game. I guess Tapu Koko isn't weak to Steel, but the other ones are. So that's just something to think about. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool leads, and we'll be playing around with those at some point. So thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed this content, obviously leave a like, subscribe. I'm pretty new to YouTube. I don't have millions of followers. If you like content like this, I'll definitely continue to post it. And if you don't like it, I'm still going to post it because I actually enjoy doing this. So leave a like, subscribe, and put your thoughts below if you think that we need to change the set. If there's any ideas that you guys think would potentially work better. Like I said, with that Ninetales, I played, Lumberry, any item and move that you can possibly think of. And this is just the best team that I've come up with. And I think going 8-1 in Master Roll, even in the, in the 2,000 to 4,000, 5,000 tier, it's still pretty decent. It's definitely not top 1,000, but I'm, going to continue to play and potentially record some games, breaking the thousands with this team. So, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching.